Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today and Tarot. My name is Mel Rose, and I'm here to share your daily astrology with a little help from Tarot. Here, I'll discuss the tarot card that sits on the side of the page. I'll make a quick review of the day's astrology, and then I'll follow up by playing another tarot card, which usually gives us something more to think about. Let's get into it. The tarot card that sits on the side of the page right now is the Four of Cups. Four of Cups relates in astrology directly to the last 10 days or the third decan of the sun's transit in the land of Cancer. Cancer is a water sign, and cups are water in the tarot. So water element is about our emotional life, our feeling life, those things we think, feel, know, and intuit, the stuff that happens on the inside, the processing we do when we feel things as well. It also has to do with our creative capacity and our intuitive capacity. So the Four of Cups here, we see this person sort of sitting with their arms crossed and with their back to a tree, and they're gazing sort of off in the direction of these three cups here. And we can't really tell if they cannot see the cup on the side or if they're just ignoring it, right? This is really, you know, it speaks of an appearance of apathy. This person is clearly in contemplation. Perhaps they're feeling a little bit emotionally disconnected, okay? And, you know, to me, this always looks like this person's like, whoa, that was a lot. I don't know if I need any more just now. And I personally think it's totally fine to take a break if you have been through a lot lately emotionally, and you have a chance to, you know, spend a day just reflecting, or, you know, just to back away from fresh emotionally charged experiences for a little while you process what it is that you've already experienced. But we have to really be careful about not becoming disconnected from the world in general. We have to be careful about not just dwelling on those experiences as though they are the only experiences we will ever have, because when we ignore the gifts that are coming in, you know, we are shutting down the possibility of having joy in our lives and having more love in our lives and having all sorts of wonderful emotions, as well as the difficult ones, obviously, but we have to remain open, okay? We have to eventually, you know, sort of dust ourselves off and think of those past experiences as sort of our lessons learned, and that way we can sort of name for ourselves the terms by which we're going to take on these new emotional experiences, okay? And I'm talking about that in terms of emotion. It also applies to our intuitive experiences, and it also applies to our creations, right? Water is a fertile sign, so it could even be your children. You could be sitting there looking at your kids going, oh no, I don't know if I think I want any more of this, you know? Not that you don't want your children, but you don't know if you want any more children, right? Okay, so lots of ways to look at that, but it's really just a moment of contemplation. It looks like a hesitation, definitely a pause, and, you know, an opportunity to reflect and then redirect our attention. And with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle my cards while I remind myself and the cards that the sun is in Cancer. We are in the final 10 days of the sun's stint through Cancer, and you know, I mean, it's been sort of an action-packed, really emotional-packed month of Cancer for me. I can reflect on it and see that we've gone through a lot of emotional stuff, and I just find that interesting. You know, when the sun is in Cancer, we kind of seek to nurture and protect others and ourselves, and we kind of, you know, to me, when the season is so hot, when we're in the peak of the summer like this, we're sort of forced to protect ourselves and think about, you know, how we're going to protect our skin when we go out in the sun, and how we're going to, you know, protect our bodies from dehydration and excessive heat, and how we're going to take care of the people around us for that kind of stuff as well. So it's almost as though, very appropriately, Cancer is water, and it's sort of an advice to get to the water. Make sure you have water with you, right? In all the ways. And not just, you know, I mean, very much for your physical body, but also, you know, in your conversations with spirit and your conversations with yourself, make sure to include a sort of water cleansing vibe to it. Mercury is also in Cancer, and you know, this is about communicating in a Cancerian way, which would be definitely bold, but definitely not necessarily verbally direct. Okay, so we want to guard against being passive aggressive or, you know, backhanded in the way that we express things to people. We can show people that we care for them in ways that are you know, indirect or not, indirect, semi-shade. The ways that are indirect, and yet, you know, still kind and loving and forward enough that that people will understand what it is we're trying to do and say. Moon is 1 day past the full. It is now a waning gibbous moon. We're still kind of celebrating as we reflect on the last month, how it went, what we have done, what we have achieved in terms of, you know, the stuff we had to release earlier after the last full moon, and then the stuff that we had to create and build since the new moon. It's a good time to just look back on what you've done and give yourself a little pat on the back and say, yeah, I did that. Moon goes out of Capricorn into Aquarius very early this morning, and Moon in Aquarius is a little more detached. I don't think you could get a less emotional moon than the Moon in Aquarius. It's just a little more rational, and it's more big picture, and so it's not that there isn't a feeling there, it's just that we feel a little bit more a little more detached or a little bit more above our feelings. And, you know, don't take that to mean that you should be above your feelings. It also helps make us really observant about our feelings, right? Mercury is air, and Cancer is water. So this is about understanding what's going on in our feelings, and Aquarius probably helps us with that. Moon goes in Aquarius early this morning. Rational options appeal the most to us for the next 2.5 days before it makes ingress to Pisces. Moon goes square to Mars this afternoon around 1:38. And, you know, this is that time where you're feeling impulsive and like you can grasp at the thing that you are in pursuit of, but that square aspect says, you know, beware coming across as impatient or you know, perhaps too aggressive. Okay, and then Moon sextile Jupiter this afternoon. You know, Moon and Jupiter get along so well, and that's a sextile vibe, so it's just cooperative. This is our benevolence and our hearts in this cooperative vibe, so we feel very expansive and we feel very generous, and we want to share with the people that we keep close especially. On the sun side of the page today, we've got all ongoing stuff, and up here we've got this stuff that's kind of about not feeling as though we can express ourselves. Chiron is in Aries. Chiron in Aries is very much about feeling as though you are included and accepted out in the world, you know, wherever you go. And Sun and Mercury are both square to Chiron right now. So, you know, we're having trouble. We have this sense that somebody's rules for us, or some cultural expectation of us is saying that we can't express ourselves the way we would like to. And then Mercury is here saying we might be having some conflict with other people regarding our ability to express ourselves because we don't feel as though we can. But then on the other side of this, we have Sun sextile to Uranus and Mercury sextile to Uranus. So this is saying you can try something new, and in fact you're really very clever right now. So if you just want to, you know, sort of pull your head up from the fight and the fracas, okay? Pull your head up again, up above any drama or any, you know, sense of grievance we have about other people or spaces where we feel like we can't express ourselves, okay? If we're feeling a sense of grievance about not being able to express ourselves, then perhaps we need to relocate or find different company to keep, or, you know, do something different. Try something else, okay? Of course, the definition of madness is just doing the same thing over and over again and hoping it will work. But, you know, here's your home run opportunity, right? You can just really unlock yourself from these square aspects by saying, look, you know what? I'm not going to fight about it. I want to express myself. I'm going to go find a place where I can express myself. Venus trine Saturn right now. This is a really beautiful vibe. And then square to Neptune. So Saturn and Neptune are opposites, and Venus is in a positive way with Saturn, and it's sort of I don't want to say negative, but I would say challenging way with Neptune here. And, you know, Venus and Neptune here, this is very much a vibe like we have some insecurity in terms of how we're being perceived. It can also be insecurity about how it looks to other people when we like what we like, you know, sort of going out in public, holding hands with that person that nobody ever thought they would see us holding hands with, right? Or, you know, wearing that style that is a little bit, you know, wild, and people are going to be surprised when they see it, right? So everything in the ongoing column here today seems to be saying, don't let other people dictate your self-expression. And then here it is right here saying, you know, we're worried about how we look to other people, right? So this is also a message to you, like, don't let your idea of what other people think of you dictate your self-expression, okay? Because sometimes people aren't even putting the boundaries on us that we think they are. Okay, sometimes we just haven't even tried to express ourselves yet, okay? So, and then Venus trine to Saturn, this is really a gift, and it's a gift of this sense of security and support in the people and things that we like, love, and can't get enough of. So we are really attracting practical options for ourselves, and when we do, we see immediate improvement in terms of our own sense of stability. So worry not about what other people are seeing when they look at you right now, because what you're drawing toward you, okay, what you're attracted to, is really practical for you right now, okay? And maybe that's what feels strange about it, is like, oh, I'm doing this really practical thing. I'll bet nobody ever thought they'd see me do this, right? Don't worry about what other people thought they would see. Don't worry about what other people think they see right now. Just draw toward you what you feel is the most significant in terms of your personal security and stability, right? Okay. And again, it's time to try something new. We're very clever and innovative right now. So, you know, it's okay. We're going to step outside the bounds a little bit, and we're going to be all right. That trine blessing there is beautiful for that. Pluto is retrograde. Okay. There are ties in our lives that bind us to people and circumstances on a visceral level, and we can become attached to certain ways of being or certain people that you know, have helped us to learn how to get by. And then stuff changes, right? And you can maintain an attachment to a way of being that used to help you get by, but that does not help you anymore, okay? So it's time to let that go. It's time to become unattached from that way of being. If just because it worked for you when you were 12, or just because it worked for you when you were 20, you know, it's not going to keep working for you forever. We don't get to, you know, we don't get to just we don't ever figure everything out, okay, friends? So even if you think you've got it figured out, one of these days you're going to bring that that behavior that always works for you, and it's going to go really poorly, and then you're going to go, whoa, I should have let that one go a long time ago. What was I thinking? Saturn continues to be retrograde through October 22, and it's in Aquarius, and it's really asking us to consider our lives in the context of our communities, okay? So all of us, each of us is part of the collective, and our approach to being in the world, outdoors, outside our front door, it has an effect on everyone. So we get this beautiful period of time every year where we can re-examine how involved we are, you know, really pay attention to where we have not been as involved as we would like to say we were, and then we, you know, can recommit ourselves to more positive engagement in that outer life stuff that, again, draws in our sense of stability and security. Neptune is also retrograde, and this is like really seeing the truth about our lives, okay? Neptune usually contributes to illusion, and fantasy allows us to dream a little bit. Any illusions that we've been having about how we're living right now are going away. It's not maybe very pleasant, and some of us would prefer not to have the veil lifted, okay? But here's the thing, you can live in a fantasy and a dream world while actually not living a very fulfilled life, right? Or you can put your feet in the real world and work to make your fantasy a reality. And with all of that said, I'm going to shuffle one more time. Seven of Rods. Okay, so cups and rods or wands, that's water and fire. Fire is about, in tarot, is about our drive, our passion, the spark that we have inside that makes us active, and that puts us in pursuit of our goals. Whereas, you know, water kind of attracts or draws things in, fire goes after things, okay? So, first of all, I want to say that the moon goes square to Mars here for a couple of hours today. This will be from about 1:30 to 3:30, and you know, impatience is rarely appreciated, but the Seven of Rods really kind of speaks to a defensive position, okay? So, and it's kind of a positive message, because clearly this person has the higher ground, and as long as they maintain a clear space around them, they'll be in a good position. But that doesn't mean that they're not in a fight, and that doesn't mean that they don't have to maintain a good defensive position, right? I like to think of this card as the, as long as I know that I have done everything that I should have done card. That, you know, then you're in a good defensible position. You know, in terms of whatever it is that you've been passionate about or engaged in passionately. So, you know, it takes a little bit of persistence to maintain a good defense, right? You have to really be vigilant, and vigilance can lead to being tired, and being tired can lead to impatient or restless behavior. And then we give ground, right? So, yes, we want to remain vigilant, but also we want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves and getting some rest. There's these benevolent hearts tonight cooperating. Maybe we can put our sticks down and enjoy some tapas together or something. And then, you know, we've got the Sun and Chiron here, both pretty fiery right now. Well, the Sun is always fiery. Sun rules Leo. Chiron is in Aries for like 6 or 8 years right now. And this is, you know, about feeling as though we can't express ourselves, which often does mean having to put up a good defense, right? Means like having to make sure we have done all the things correctly, we have worn the right clothes, or we have you know, checked all the correct boxes and showed up at the right time, presented the right ticket, right? So, you know, if we're having a little bit of struggle with our ability to express ourselves around other people, you know, I think this is a little bit like what I said before, like being defensive about what you think people will not like about you. Sometimes, you know, we sort of squash our own self-expression in that way. You know, we just take a negative attitude from the outset that people aren't going to accept us as we are. You know, they're not going to allow us to express ourselves honestly. But then, you know, if we show up and we try to do it, sometimes, you know, it's just like, hey, yeah, great for you. No big deal, right? So, you know, keep that in mind. You know, you can put up a good defense, and sometimes you have to when you know that there are places where you don't feel quite so secure or quite so allowed to express yourself, or places where, you know, your self-expression gets you into trouble and you have to argue with people about it. It's time to try something new, okay? It's time to stop fighting this fight up here and really, you know, go find an environment where we don't have to defend ourselves. I really see that. Venus trine to Saturn, you know, we're really trying to call in more stable opportunities for ourselves. And sometimes we can't do that if we're worried so much about what everybody else thinks or who's coming after us. Taken together with the Four of Cups. Yeah, you know, like I said, it's perfectly cool, finding and great to contemplate the emotional, intuitive, or creative experiences we have been through recently. It's okay to take a pause, to take a breath, to revise the terms on which we engage in those experiences, the terms by which we engage in those experiences. But eventually we have to turn our head toward the future and be ready to take on a new offer, right? So, you know, we need to be open to further experiences. And this looks like, you know, I took a pause and I really enjoyed that pause so much that I figured I'd just keep pausing, right? Maybe if I put up a good defense, then I won't have any more fiery emotional drama coming at me, you know. But really, if you put up a good defense, you just won't have any more emotional opportunities. You know, you start to restrict those. We start to restrict those emotional opportunities as we go through things with people. And, you know, sometimes that's valid. You know, if you've had a certain kind of experience with a certain person over and over again and they've shown you who they are, then, you know, I don't keep fighting with that person. I just disregard them, right? I don't try to defend myself against somebody who obviously doesn't know what they're talking about when they're talking to me about myself, right? Right. Well, I kind of got lost there, but you know, I guess what I'm just saying is, you know, you don't have to stay in the fight with people, you know, who don't want you to express yourself properly. Okay, you can kind of turn. you can pivot. There's an opportunity here to pivot. You might have to run a little way. You might have to go somewhere else. Okay, to a place where you can better express yourself. But you know, being open to more emotional experiences, creative experiences, and intuitive experiences, being open to that. Yes, it's risky, okay, but it's worth it, and nobody wants to spend their life just fighting, just being defensive, all right? Okay, I think that's all I have to say about it today, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate your presence here now. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today and Tarot.